He mourned the death of his dear wife, who left 5 years ago. But one day he saw the flowers from her grave in a vase in the kitchen, and something unbelievable happened. Ronaldo was the man who arguably had the perfect life. He had a perfect job, a beautiful wife named Betina, and a beautiful daughter named Kelly, his daughter, who was just 15 years old. But one morning at home, something terrible changed their lives. One morning, while the whole family was sleeping, Betina, Ronaldo's wife, woke up in unbearable pain. She couldn't take the excruciating pain in her abdomen any longer. It was something she had never really felt before. He knew she was very strong and he knew how to endure physical pain. However, this was something she couldn't bear. And this was the reason why everyone at home was alarmed at what was happening. Ronaldo took his wife to the emergency room and, a few hours later, to the hospital. The doctors were surprised because, after carrying out some tests, they detected something that was not completely normal. They were alarmed and asked Betina to stay that night at the hospital so they could continue doing some medical tests, and in the morning they could have a slightly more accurate diagnosis of what was happening to her. Betina agreed with no questions asked about it, and so her family stayed with her for those 2 hours. But after the waiting time, the doctor approached and told him that he seemed to have something in his stomach, which was not entirely healthy and also not common. He told her that it was possibly very bad news, but that if he could, he should stay at least a few weeks so they could continue testing her. Betina felt what it was and sent Ronaldo and Kelly home. Little Kelly, very worried about her mother, asked her if she was going to come home. Kelly then asked her if she could promise that she would be fine and that she would get home safely. Her mother, somewhat unsure of her answer, said yes to the little girl so that she wouldn't worry too much. However, the woman deep down knew that this answer was false. A few days later, the doctors told Betina that they were really surprised at her ability to withstand the physical pain, since what she had in her stomach was a terminal illness and that, unfortunately, to everyone's negative surprise, her illness had already begun. Final phase. Betina was completely shocked when she was diagnosed with a terminal illness. The two entered and saw how thin Betina was. It was impossible to try to hide how poor his health was. Betina smiled. Despite everything, she never stopped being the sweet wife and mother of her family. And this was the last afternoon they shared as a family together. Betina made the good man she had chosen for her husband years ago promise to take good care of Kelly. And she also made him promise to take care of his father. That last afternoon was beautiful, and after that, at midnight Betina passed away, leaving her daughter and her husband alone. Her husband truly loved Ronaldo. Despite all the time he spent at work, he was never a man to neglect or downplay the value of his family. Not for a moment did he stop being the romantic husband who always came home with his wife's favorite flowers, the white lilies, the same ones that, when she died, he never failed to place on her tombstone. Years passed and Kelly grew up. The day came when she had to go to college, and despite having to grow up and leave the nest, she never broke the effective bond between her and her father, as she was the fruit of something her mother had left from the beginning. She decided to study languages because she knew that when she was a little more advanced in this, she would want to travel the world as a translator. And that's when she met a friend. They went out for drinks at a bar very close to campus, and suddenly, when they returned home, they both met with an unfortunate incident. A group of drunk college kids started harassing them just as they were walking back. Fortunately for both of them, at that moment, a brave and bright young man appeared to defend them from these types of girls who had very bad attitudes. This man was called Michael Kelly. She was completely shocked at how brave he was to stand up for them and help in such a polite way that he didn't even have to resort to the typical method men use to defend a girl, who is physical violence. Mikel, being a true gentleman, was able to defend the ladies that he and Mikel felt a strong attraction towards in the beginning. And for Kelly's friend, that wasn't something she ignored. So she decided to leave him alone. This would be the first of many nights they would share on so many other dates. After a while, Mikel and Kelly came to the conclusion that they had been in a relationship for over a year now, and it was a good idea that maybe their parents knew each other and they met them at the same time. That's how they organized a nice dinner in a very nice restaurant. In it, Ronaldo, Kelly's father, and Lydia, Michael's mother, met for the first time. Lydia was also a widow for about 4 years, and Ronald was a widower for 5 years. Both met and got along very well from the beginning. Clearly, they had certain things in common. The dinner was so enjoyable that the family agreed to host her and Kelly's father at Lydia and Michael's the following Sunday for a family lunch. Everyone was delighted, and that day, the family lunch would take place at Lydia and Michael's house, and their father arrived. Upon entering, Ronaldo had realized something. He and Linda complimented each other very well and got along wonderfully. The connection that was starting to emerge between them was obvious, but he suddenly felt a little guilty. 5 years have passed since his wife passed away. However, he never stopped loving her and always had great respect for her, which is why he never dated another woman. And as if by fate, Ronaldo went into the kitchen to pour himself a glass of water, and suddenly he saw on the table that there was a bouquet of white lilies inside it, the same flowers that he'd always placed on his wife's grave. At that moment, he felt nervous and thought that maybe it was a sign that his wife was still present in spirit and he should respect her. But after that, Michael came in and said, "Do you like flowers?" Ronaldo, a little confused, told him that they were beautiful, and Michael told him that they are his mother's favorite flowers, which his father used to give her every time they celebrated a new month of marriage. He was a truly good and noble man. He passed away due to a tragic illness, but my mother still knows how to keep him in her memory with great respect. That's why she still puts her favorite flowers that he always used to give her. He understood at that moment that that bouquet of white lilies was not a negative sign that he shouldn't take a step forward, but the opposite. It was a sign that maybe God had put them in each other's path, so that they could accompany each other in his new life partners. He did what Lydia's husband did to her, and as his wife, Lydia considered white lilies her favorite flowers. Just a few months later, thanks to this magical and thought-provoking event, Lydia and Ronald got engaged and decided to get married about 3 months later, in a chapel in the city. They did something small but very intimate that established them as partners for life. It was a beautiful thing, because everyone said that both Lydia's husband and Ronaldo's wife had taken responsibility from beyond the grave to find a partner for their ex-husbands, because they really loved them so much that they never wanted to see them alone. Tell us in the comments what you think of this beautiful story, and please leave your like.